As the international break comes to a close, Derby County are preparing for their next 3 fixtures. Now, if you have not done so already, go and check out my August review where we picked our player of the month. It was voted for by you, the fans of this channel, people who clicked on the link which I shared over on Twitter and Facebook. So make sure you go and follow me on those pages. And heading into this month, we're going to be doing the same thing towards the end. So make sure you follow me over on Twitter, you hit the subscribe button here, and go and find me over on Facebook, because that's where I'll be posting the links. So this month, we're heading towards 3 big fixtures. We face up against Cardiff City to start off with. We've then got to head to Sheffield United before facing Norwich City at home. Now, it's 3 important fixtures for Derby County to really build on that momentum which they built in that Bristol City game. It's going to be really interesting to see how the likes of Corey Blackett-Taylor find their way into the squad, as well as the new signings Marcus Harness and Nat Phillips, who were unable to play versus Bristol City. But I think what we noticed in that Bristol City game is that Paul Warne has now set a standard for performances at this level. Now, do I expect us to beat everybody 3-0? Absolutely not. But do I expect the level of performance and the composure and confidence on the ball to continue on into future games? Absolutely. Now, we're going to take a look ahead to those fixtures. Let's take a look at the fixtures when they are played, and then take a look at the league table. But before we do that, make sure you've hit that subscribe button and turned on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL Championship and League One content which is heading your way. The League One preview will be out tomorrow, the Championship preview out on Wednesday, before we look ahead to Cardiff City in full. So make sure, if you're looking forward to all of that content, you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. Now, here we have the 3 fixtures, as previously mentioned. We face up against Cardiff City this Saturday on the 14th of September. We then head away to Sheffield United on the 21st before facing Norwich City at home. Now, I'm not entirely sure if any of these games can be moved for cup competitions. Obviously, the Cardiff City one won't be, that's on Saturday, but I'm not sure when the next round of the cup is. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these 3 games go. Heading into Cardiff, obviously, if you were to look at the league table, they're obviously sitting down there at the bottom, and they're really struggling. I think they've only scored 1 goal so far this season. So I think it's a real opportunity for Derby County to build on that performance against Bristol City and sort of build to the confidence. You look at the performance that the likes of Kenzo Heldmine, Jerry Yates and Caden Jackson put in, and obviously that's not missing anybody who else had a really good game, because I thought it was a massive performance versus Bristol City. And heading into this Cardiff City one this weekend is going to be massively interesting to see how that goes. You obviously then go to Sheffield United, who I think at the minute we're sort of level with in the table, but they're certainly going to be up there come the end of the season. One of the best sides in this division, so it's going to be interesting to see how they find their form in this division, and obviously that's something they're going to be looking to do. We obviously then face Norwich at home, and it's going to be really interesting looking into that one later down the line towards the end of September, because I think there's a lot that Derby County can do to improve, and obviously heading into this group of fixtures, that's what we're going to be seeing. Now, if we do take a look into the league table, as you can see, Derby County are currently sitting in 10th place with 2 wins and 2 losses, 7 goals scored, 6 conceded, 6 points on the board. And as I mentioned, we're currently level with Sheffield United. Obviously, all that could change this weekend. One could go above, or we could stay the same. And if you look at that league table so far, I think the only team that's really sort of massively stood out is Sunderland. They've had an unbelievable start, 4 wins in 4. You look at West Brom, 3 wins, 1 draw. Now, obviously, we're taking a bigger focus onto Derby County in this video, and obviously you can't see Cardiff City. I couldn't get all 24 teams on the screen. So it's one of those for me where obviously look at the Sheffield United game. That's going to be really difficult. In fact, all 3 of the games are going to be difficult. The importance is finding a way to get through these difficult games and pick up points. I think we need around 50 points to be comfortably safe in this division. Now, obviously, I know last season, I think Birmingham went down with 50, 51, something like that. So that's going to be interesting to see where that sort of filters out towards the end of this season. I don't necessarily think the division is as strong this year at the bottom end, especially when you look at the likes of Plymouth start. Obviously, Luton have struggled to start with and things like that. So I don't necessarily think that the bottom is as strong as it was last year, but we'll obviously have to wait and see how that goes. But obviously Derby County have 9 points up for grabs. They could end up on a maximum of 15 points come the end of this. Now, we're going to go into each game, and then I'm going to give a score prediction and goal scorers for who I think is going to score in these games. So for Cardiff City, obviously it's another home game, and it's a game in which I think is going to be really, really important. I think at home, if Derby County can pick up 30, 35 points, then I think we'll be safe. I think we can get 20 points away from home. I really do. And 30 points is obviously, it's just over a point a game. 23 home games, 23 away. So I think if Derby can win, say 10, 11 of their home games, I think we'll be all right. And obviously we've already won 2, that's 6 points, 9 more wins to go at home. And I think Cardiff City give us an opportunity to win a 3rd game at home on the, well, it'd be a 4th game at home on the trot if you count in Chesterfield in the Cup. So it's one of those for me. Headed into this game, obviously it's Ebo Adams' first time playing against Cardiff City since moving away in the summer on a permanent transfer to join us. And I do think it's going to be a very, very interesting fixture. I do think Cardiff City are going to come out fighting. I think they've got to. They've got an opportunity to pick up some points, and that's something that they really need to do. But they've struggled with creativity. They've struggled with putting chances away. And I think this is an opportunity for Derby County to once again put their strongest foot forward, which is their defensive capabilities. And I think what we're going to see in this game is Derby County grind out another result. I'm not saying that Cardiff City are going to put the pressure on us like the likes of Bristol City did during the game, or the likes of Middlesbrough did. But I certainly think that Cardiff City will have an impact on the game. I think it's certainly not... I don't think it's going to be anything similar to the Bristol City game. I think Cardiff City won't come out at us as much as Bristol City did, which obviously limits the chances that we will create. But I do think we'll come away with a 1-0 win. Personally, I think it's going to be a set piece. I think Curtis Nelson or Erin Cashin will be the scorers. Obviously, we will look back at this at the end of the month. So make sure you stick around for that. But for me, I think the big thing to talk about heading into this game, which we'll talk about in more detail in my preview, which will come out on Thursday afternoon, is the squad. We have, I think it's 26 players fit and available, which is obviously going to be a massive conversation for Paul Warne and his coaching staff. And heading into this one, it's going to be the hardest it's ever going to be, because obviously you've got those players who have stepped into the squad, the likes of Marcus Harness and Nat Phillips. You've got Corey Blackett-Taylor returning to fitness. You've got Connor Washington returning to fitness. So, and even the likes of Joe Ward and Kane Wilson, who are sort of building up their minutes again. So it's going to be a really interesting one, what the squad will look like heading into this game. Now, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn on the notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL Championship and League One content heading your way across the course of this season. Now, the next game we're going to look into is Sheffield United. Now, I think these two, Sheffield United and Norwich, are the hardest of the month. And obviously, with it only being a small month, it's going to be very interesting to see how everything transpires. Now, obviously, the first game versus Cardiff, I think we're going to take all 3 points. Heading into this one, as you can see on screen, I'm predicting a 1-0 loss. And I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be very few chances. I think Sheffield United are one of those teams that have the capabilities of being a very solid defensive side, but they also have some cheat codes in the Championship, in my opinion. The likes of O'Hare, you look at Kiefer Moore, you look at Gustavo Hamer, Ollie Arblaster, some really, really good players, in my opinion, who are certainly a step above the Championship level, but they're not quite at that Premier League level, in my opinion. You know, that sort of in-between phase. I think Mitrovic was at it for 3 or 4 years before he finally hit the ground running in a Premier League season. And it's one of those for me where heading into this one, the biggest question is going to be about how the new signings fit in and how we're able to integrate them into the squad, how we're able to adapt our play and our team to make sure we can get the best out of it. You obviously look at someone like Nat Phillips, isn't going to have come in to sit on the bench. You look at Marcus Harness, isn't going to have come in to sit on the bench. But where are they going to fit? Are we going to, on occasion, go to a back 3 and Nat Phillips be a part of the back 3? Who's Nat Phillips going to replace in a back 4? It's one of those where I think suspensions and injuries this season are going to be really, really costly for players, because you obviously look at, if Erin Cashin had his concussion now, heading into the Sheffield United game, as he did previously, I don't think he'd have won his shirt back straight away the way he did from Sonny Bradley, because I think Nat Phillips is a better player than Sonny Bradley and would have been able to keep the shirt after the performances that we saw. You then obviously look at the likes of Marcus Harness, can play on both wings, can play in that number 10 role as well as a number 8, although he is more of a wide number 10 type player. He's certainly someone who can sort of cause problems for those players that are currently starting those roles, the likes of Mendes Lang, the likes of Caden Jackson, the likes of Kenzo Haldmine, who are all going to have to look over their shoulder now at what is going to happen towards the back end of this September month. Obviously, we've had the international break, so I think as I'm recording this, it's the 9th. I think you'll see this on the 9th as well. So it's one of those for me where there's going to be a lot of talking points about who is going to take those positions, who's going to make the shirt their own, and when they get an opportunity, are they going to take it? Because I personally don't think they'll change the team heading into Cardiff, but depending on the performance, I think there's an opportunity heading into the Sheffield United game that things may change. Now, it is going to be interesting looking into this after the Cardiff game when we've seen that performance and how the likes of Marcus Harness and Nat Phillips have got on, if they get on the pitch versus Cardiff, that is. So it is going to be a very, very interesting one. Shall we take a look into Norwich City? Now, heading into this final game of the month versus Norwich City, obviously Derby County come back home to face Norwich City. I think it's going to be a very, very impactful game, this one. I think it's going to be very interesting because Norwich City are a team who are probably going to be hoping to be on the fringes of the playoffs, maybe capitalise on some errors from those teams above. You look at the likes of Luton Town, who are struggling at the moment, and you think that opens up a space in that top 6, in my opinion. So Norwich City are going to be hoping to be there. I think they struggled a little bit to get going, but they've got themselves going now, and I think heading into this game towards the back end of the month, it's going to be about make sure you get through these games and pick up your results, pick up your points. And this, for me, will be another point at home for Derby County, totaling us to 10 points at home for this season. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this game goes. You obviously have that squad discussion that we've had already in this video, where there's a lot on the line now because there's a lot of players available. You look at the right back slot, who's going to be in that position for the foreseeable future. Obviously, Kane Wilson's injury gave Ryan Niambi an opportunity, and Ryan Niambi has absolutely flown with it. You look at Erin Cashin, gave Sonny Bradley an opportunity, but obviously Cashin is just that step ahead of Sonny Bradley when it comes to this point of the season. And then when you think about some of the other players that we've now brought in, the Marcus Harness, the Nat Phillips, it's going to be interesting to see if they can break their way into the team. You obviously look at, there's Tawanda Chiwa as well, who I've not even mentioned yet in this video, who's going to have an opportunity at some point. Something is going to happen. Where does Kenzo fit in with all these players? And it is going to be really interesting to see how this one goes. I personally think this Norwich game is going to be a 1-1 draw. I think it's going to be a very evenly contested game. I think we'll obviously sit off and allow the counter-attack. And I think that's what we're going to do for a majority of the games this season. Now, in my opinion, we've seen versus Bristol City that we can go toe-to-toe with anybody. And I think that's something which Paul Warne has got to look into. He's got to use it, because obviously we're not on a financial capacity of fighting with the majority of the teams in this league, especially when you look at our net transfer spend and things like that. It works out at zero when you counter in sell-on fees and things like that. So it is going to be interesting to see how we get on when we're combating these teams. And obviously Bristol City, with the money they've spent, on paper they should batter us, but what actually happened was the opposite way round. We was clinical in possession. We was clinical with our chance. Well, I say clinical, it could have been 7. But it's one of those where, looking into these set of fixtures in September, where Derby County have to push the boat and really sort of take it to teams when they have possession of the ball. We have that quality now in midfield where we can be a couple of yards higher up. You look at Nat Phillips, can he be a couple of yards higher up with that defensive line? Obviously, the first few games, Blackburn Rovers, Middlesbrough, Watford, and was it Barrow, I think was a little too deep. But then as we went into the Bristol City game, it was a completely different story. And was that because of Jerry Yates? Was it because of the midfield options that we had? And it was a completely different type of contest. And I think if we can make more games like that, I think we'll have no problems staying in the division. Now, we've gone through the predictions, we've gone through the previews. So obviously I've gone with 1 win, 1 loss and 1 draw in that order for the games. I think we're going to take 4 points from 9, which would, I think it would put us on 10 points to start the season. 10 points from 7, if I've got that right. So we'd be working out at something like 1.3 points per game, which I think is fairly decent. And if you put that together over the course of a season, I think it's something like 48, 49 points. No, actually, we play 46 games, so it's over 50 points. And that's exactly what we need, really. So, in my opinion, I think we're going to be in for a really good opportunity this month to pick up some points. I do think the 2 games against Sheffield United and Norwich are going to be difficult, but the important thing is trying to sort of keep our performance levels high. For me, it doesn't matter if we lose, if we're working hard and putting in performances for those other teams to sort of go, well, hang on a minute, this team is actually going to be a threat in this division, especially at that sort of lower end of the mid-table, and that's what I want to see. It's what I want to hear coming away from games, not this, oh, Derby County have looked into another result, or Derby County were terrible, how did we lose that game, things like that. So I think that's something to obviously massively look at. I think it's going to be a really, really interesting month. Now, we've gone through all the games in September. We'll be back at the end of September to review these predictions and review the performances from each game. Obviously, there will be matchday vlogs for both Cardiff City and Norwich. There'll be matchday reviews for Sheffield United, where we'll talk about the performance and things like that. So if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you in my next video. Sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.